Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, September 17th. Please join us and stand to pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We began tonight at 6:30, executive session to discuss financial assistance to a resident in need. Tonight we have invited guest Stone Arbor Farm. We'll be discussing a Halloween community event. We also have an update from the Upton Historical Society. Agenda item 5.1, consider request for funding for detail at Stone Arbor Farm. 5.2 is consider a request for police funding for detail at Heritage Park. We have to execute the 2018 to 21 Upton DPW hourly CBA. Motion to approve the volunteer fire assistant grant. We have recognition, and we have town manager's report, and new business and public comment. All right, so we'll start with meeting minutes from September 3rd. Actually, Maureen, did you read them over?
Yes.
You were here, right? So, did you read them over? Do you have any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll move that we accept the meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2019.
Okay. Make that majority action. Thank you. Okay. Invited guests, Stone Arbor Farm. All right. Mel is here, and I'm sorry.
Hi, it's Tony Bowie from Stone Arbor Farm.
All right.
I'm going to try this again.
All right.
All right.
So of course we have some information in front of us, but please, you can go over everything so that folks in attendance and folks listening at home will have an idea of what you're proposing.
Sure. On November 1st and 2nd, we are proposing that we have a community event, a Halloween event for the town. We understand that the Rose Garden also does a similar event, and we strategically chose these two dates so we didn't conflict with what they currently already put on. We are respectfully asking the town if we could have a detailed officer for public safety purposes, along with a pole light to ensure everyone is kept safe during this event. We have obtained a permit from the Board of Health. All of our food proceeds are going to go to the Bloomer Girls for them to utilize the funding the best way they see fit back into the community. Parking will be on property, the field in the back, as well as neighbors who have volunteered space within their own homes to be used. I'm not sure if we have anything else. If anybody has any questions, we can certainly answer them.
I don't see, basically, is it free to the public or is there a charge for admission?
So we're asking for donations. Obviously, this is the first one we've done, so there was a little bit of an up cost. So hopefully some of the donations will go back into what the cost was to kind of start it up and going. But it's just donations. There's no cost to people to come to it. And like I had mentioned, all the food proceeds will go back into the community to the Bloomer Girls to utilize those funds.
Okay. And what age group is this open to?
Anywhere from, I don't know how well, a 4 or 5-year-old could probably do it. We're going to kind of make it so you start off with less kind of scary themes, so you can cut out midway point if you don't think it's age appropriate for your child, and then continue with some more scenes towards the end of it for kind of the upper age bracket.
Okay. And we have to talk to Dennis or as far as the ability for the light stanchion, the light pole.
I spoke
You have?
Yes.
Okay. And that's not a problem as far as as far as the light, you've asked for the light poles?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And Brett, do you have questions?
No, as long as parking, you guys feel confident that the parking's gonna work out, because I know the street's narrow there, so
Yeah.
it's not gonna keep people off the road.
Yeah.
It's the only,
We do, believe we did put in some of the advertising that we have kind of put together thus far to kind of, if you're able to walk and to utilize kind of carpool to kind of limit, the amount of traffic that's being parked on the, in the available spaces.
Okay. Yeah, Fire Chief?
Is this predominantly an outside event, or is it going to take place in the structure where you might have to get some approvals from the building official?
Outside.
It's going to be strictly an outside event? Okay.
And Derek, do we have an idea, do we have any problem proceeding? And if so, we would need to know what the cost would be and what available funds we could draw from.
Right, so I did speak to Chief Bradley about the cost of the details, and he's estimating approximately $785 to provide details for this event. Historically, the Board of Selectmen have used, for these types of requests, the William Milton Trust Fund, which is for any municipal purpose. The current balance is approximately $64,000.
About 64K. All right, any other questions, Rick?
no, not at all. I would make a motion that we approve the request for the police detail and light pole and any associated costs for this event.
Okay. And second motion? Make that majority action. Very good. Is there,
Thank
Thanks
anything
for-
else?
Hope to see that.
Yeah, we will. Thanks for doing something great for the community. Appreciate it. Awesome. Spread the word.
For folks that may not know, Jan Brunel is Maureen's daughter. So the reason she needed to recuse herself.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Okay. Invited guests. Next, we have an update from the Historical Society, Upton Historical Society.
Thank you. Tom Baer, President of the Upton Historical Society, and the society is the keepers of the town's museum over in Bristol Building. And I have a slide presentation, which is going to be a little bit different because of the difficulties with the electronics. So I'll just take a minute here and try to get this set up. And some of you may have to
Need help on anything?
It's coming.
Lights.
Fire Chief, I'll bring in a resuscitation pump if you need one.
Hey, I'm doing better than you are.
This is exciting.
Planetarium here.
So this is gonna crane your neck a little bit.
Love the creativity. Of course, I'm a reclining chair, so I've had an advantage.
Okay.
I can see.
This is activities at the museum, it's the general topic, but I wanted, the first thing is something that's applicable to the whole building over there. In the 2016, 15, 16 timeframe, I would open the building, I would be the first in the building on a Tuesday morning. And nobody would have been in the building after the library closed middle of Saturday afternoon on one side. And a lot of places I would go, the temperature would be 68, 70, 71 degrees. I mean, that's night and day, it's going like that. So during the winter of 16 and 17, I went through the building every morning when I went in, and they took temperature measurements, and I measured the outside temperature. And it clearly showed that there was a lot of heat going into that building that didn't need to go. So I made a proposal to the town to install automatic setback thermostats. That was approved. The library bought the thermostats, and I installed them. And I finished the installation in March of 2018. This data is provided to the green communities. The blue area shows the gas usage for the building, and it's a 12-month rolling average. So any data point on that top graph represents the average for the previous 12 months. So you can see from 2015, 16, 17, up into 18, it's running, it's up around 80, whatever the units are. The red line is where I finished installation of the thermostats. Now that was in March, and you have the summer months, but then we get into the winter of 2018 and the spring of 2019, and you can see that the gas usage dropped significantly. So I plan on updating this to get to next year's, and I think it should continue and maybe drop a little bit farther.
Great.
Another activity we have going is inventorying all of the documents, archives, books, journals, scrapbooks, all the paper goods that contain information that researchers might want to have access to. It was around 2002 that we installed a computer with a database where we record everything. But we had like 40 years of material there prior to that. So I instituted a program over there to go through all of those paper goods, inventory them, and as much as possible index them. We have like 150 scrapbooks, and one of our volunteers went in and indexed all the articles in 150 scrapbooks. So that material now you can find newspaper articles and so forth that you may be interested in. So that's an ongoing process. It's kind of gone on hold with a lot of other things going on. While doing those inventories, one of the commission members came over and volunteered to do some inventory, and there were 69 VHS tapes in our media cabinet. And she brought this up at a commission meeting. They offered to fund transferring some of them to DVDs and digital files, which they did. So we now have like 21 of the VHS tapes now converted to digital format so that they're much more readily accessible, usable. We still have, like I say, we still have got quite a few, but I try to select those that were most relevant to Upton history. And so we may continue with that. Last Thursday, we opened a new exhibit in the museum, focusing on the hat industry in Upton. We've done this in conjunction with the Blackstone Heritage Corridor and their GO program. So we were listed in their GO program. I had about 6 volunteers working since June putting together this exhibit. And we had, let's see, Thursday, we were open Thursday night, Saturday till 3. We had a total of about 50 people, and they were just, everyone was really thrilled with the exhibit and meeting other people that had worked in the factories as well. So that exhibit will stay there, and it'll be available during our regular hours. With all that work going into it, we're not about to take it down so soon. That's an interesting one. Okay. That's the same one, turned sideways. And then, oh, this is good. I think I'm pressing the wrong button. Okay, there we go. Heritage Day Festival. That's coming up on the 28th. The Historical Society coordinates all the organizations and town departments in putting that event on. So Don't forget that coming up on the 28th. With the redevelopment plans that are being considered by the town, the Historical Society is trying to keep abreast of that and also to assess what impact that could have on us. And currently, between the rooms, the archive rooms and the museum and everything on the second floor, plus 2 storerooms on the third floor, we occupy about 2,350 square feet in the building, which if it was all on one floor, would probably pretty much fill up one floor. But that collection has been going on for 40, 50 years or something, and there's a lot of commingling of the different types of material, the research material, the objects, the office work, the museum and so forth. So what we did is we went through all the rooms and we went item by item by item, everything in the room, and said, what is that being used for and how much space does it take? Then we combined those by functionality to see, and then I put together a plan that says if we were to take and put the museum in one area with a research room adjacent to it, an office area separated from it, and then a records room. But those would be the rooms that people would be actively using. So the museum could be open to the public, the office and records could be closed off. The research room would be for the public to come in if they wanted to ask for documents. It could be, material could be brought from the records room for them to look at and review and so forth. And that would be a public area. The records room would be kind of, off limits for the public. And then all of our computers and our office work, our copier, printer, and everything would be in a separate area. Right now, it's commingled in the back of the museum. So that's that down at the bottom, it's like 38 by 45 feet in that plan, and it's 1,710 square feet. Now, the remaining of the storage would be in a smaller, I broke it up into 3 rooms, basically because of functionality. Artifacts, that's all the solid objects and so forth, in a room that would be 19 by 20 possibly. Clothing and textiles, another room that might be about 10 by 18. And then another room there that's framed photographs, paintings and the like, 10 by, can't read that very well, 10 by 19 it looks like. So that's a total, that's down at the bottom, it's 19 by 38 feet and 722 square feet. Now these rooms wouldn't need the kind of conditioning that, a room where you're going to be working. The temperature needs to have some control, you need to have control over humidity, but not so much. And this could be like on a second floor in the basement, even off-site where you might have to go, because you wouldn't be going in and out of these rooms as frequently.
What was the square footage, sorry, on the prior floor plan?
1710.
1710.
And this one, 722, so it's like 24. It's just a little bit bigger than what I measured we have now. So I put that up, and I think it gives a much better, picture and idea of what we have there. And I think that's all. That's all.
Really helpful.
Very good. And Heritage Day, hopefully, again, that's coming up shortly. We tend to get a lot of rainy days for Heritage Day, so we'll hope that this will be a sunny weekend, the 28th. So, Brett or Maureen, do you have any questions?
No, good presentation.
Very well done.
Thank you, that was very helpful to see, and particularly to see the layout and the square footage. It sort of gives people a sense of what the requirements would be if there was any kind of change to the existing facility, or if there's a move or change or new building or old building or renovation or what have you, to see what you need and utilize is great.
You could you come over there and you spend 2 hours,
Yeah,
you know, walking through it and not get a
Yeah.
picture of it. So
Yeah.
that's why we did this.
perfect.
Right.
Really
And
helps.
the Ocean River Heritage Day is paramount. Very good. Okay. All right, so agenda item 5.2, consider a request for funding of police detail at Heritage Park. Past several years, there has been a, Mr. Campbell, would you like to come up? From the Rose Garden to Heritage Park, there's a spooky walk and walk through the park as well. Typically, there's a light tower that's put up there and police detail to help the citizens and children cross Route 140. So, go ahead, I'll turn it over to you.
So, in the past, we had to fight with a rain date last year, but we ended up having 200 kids come through the one day that we're open. So, we get a good amount of kids coming through the haunted trail. This is my 5th year doing it. I suspect that we've probably raised close to $10,000 over the 4 years. You know, the Bloom Girls, I'm a big fan of the Bloom Girls. I think that they're all blessed with an arm. I'm sorry, the Bloom Girls are not blessed with an arm so long to pat themselves on the back. They just do nice things for the town, and there's no want for recognition, and I admire that. So that's the reason I picked them to do my haunted trail. I do the haunted trail on the abutting property behind the Rose Garden, and I've asked the Heritage Park Commission for permission, as well as the Selectmen, if it's okay to use their property. And again, I leave that property as good or better as I found it. We're looking to do the fundraiser this year on the 19th and 20th, which is a Saturday and Sunday, and that is, we'd like to do a 5 to 8:30 each night, and then wrap it all up by 9 so we can be closed down by 9. We have had in the past police details, and the DPW is nice enough, and or the police, I'm not sure if it's coordinated between the two of them, with a big light post in the front, and the police detail make sure that people, when they park across the street, that they're safely crossed. In the past, we have had, the selectmen in the past have offered to pay for that police detail through the, I'm not sure what trust it is, but through one of the trusts in town for safety and stuff like that, which would be wonderful if you would consider doing that again for the Bloom Girls. I told you the time, the dates. I think that's pretty much everything. Well, 100% of the money is, 110% of the money goes to the Bloom Girls. The 10% is I give the percentage of my draw. So they get all the monies go to the Bloom Girls. There's no, and I've got a big network of people. The men's club, I'm a men's club guy. The men's club helped me tremendously. I've enlisted the drama club from both Nipmuc and BBT, and those kids are just perfect for the job. And so that's how I intend on getting the staff to run it.
Perfect. Yeah. Very good fundraiser. It says in your letter here between $2,000 and $4,000 annually.
Yeah.
And again, if last year 200 kids, that's a big event. So I'm certainly in support of it. Brett, do you have any questions, or Maureen, do you have questions?
We've been for the past few years, and the kids love it, and we love it, and it's a great event and activity. I'd encourage everybody to take their kids and check it out. It's really great. It's a good time.
Okay. Derek, do we have what the numbers would be, what the cost of the detail would be for those? It was 2 evenings. Again, what were those dates?
It's the 19th and 20th.
So I've talked to Chief Bradley, and for these 2 events, based upon their timing, would cost both nights a total of $400.
Both nights, $400 even. Okay. And once again, I would assume we could use the William Milton.
Would be
trust fund? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Brett, would you like to make, or Maureen, would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we fund the police detail for the Rose Garden Spooky Walk in the amount of $400 in the William Milton Trust Fund.
I'll second.
And make that unanimous action? Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 5.3, we need to execute the 2018 to 2021 Upton DPW hourly CBA, which is collective bargaining agreement. Derek, you want to just speak for a minute about it?
Sure.
This is more of a housekeeping item.
Right, so this is more of an administrative process than anything else. This is the collective bargaining agreement that we agreed upon back in this past May, when we signed the memorandum of agreement. All of the financial items are already been funded through the FY20 budget process. So again, this is just to memorialize what we had already agreed upon.
Okay. Very good. Maureen, any questions?
No, I read it wrong.
Okay, and Brett?
This is good.
Okay. I will take a motion.
I move that we accept the collective bargaining agreement between the Upton DPW.
I second the motion.
You can make that unanimous action. Very good. Okay. We are on to the fire grant. So motion to approve volunteer fire assistant. And Chief DeFranco, welcome. And if you could talk about the numbers and the process by which you were able to acquire.
Sure, so this grant is a 2018 Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant. The program is funded through the U.S. Department of Agriculture Forest Fire Service in conjunction with the Cooperative Fire Protection Program. Our piece comes through the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation Bureau of Forest Fire Control and Forestry. So it happened while I was not even the chief of department. The guys took it upon themselves to apply for the grant. I was here a week and they said, Chief, we need assignments. And I said, okay, well, what are we getting? So they hadn't really decided, so we looked at some things and thought we could replace and also obtain a second, what we call a dump tank or a dump bag. Now, the purpose of those particular pieces of equipment is usually you're on a tanker truck, the truck will show up, put the bag in the street or wherever, dump the water that they have in the tank, drive to go get some water while an engine will use the bag to draft and send the water to the fire. So we can keep the truck that has all the water continually moving to go get more and bring it down. So the one that came on tanker 1 was in very poor condition, and we didn't have one for tanker 2 that would fit in the space provided that they had originally planned. So the total for the grant it's a matching grant, so it's a $1,900 match. So we had $1,900 in our account, and I will use the Forest Fire Grant article account that's in our department that also falls under BPW's records as well. So there's $4,000 in that account, so those are the funds that I plan to use to offset the grant, so it's a match. So we're very lucky to get the grant, so we're kind of excited. So in talking with the town accountant, in order to truly do this the proper way, you guys need to accept the grant and approve the authorization for me to spend funds. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. Are there any questions? Congratulations.
Yeah, nice work.
Well done. Okay, so we need to approve or accept the grant for $1,900. I will take a motion.
I'll move that we accept the $1,900 grant for the 2018 Volunteer Fire Assistance.
Second.
And you can make that unanimous action.
We need a second motion about spending the money.
I don't think so.
No, it's a budget.
Yes.
Just to accept the grant permit.
And then I'll provide you with some behind-the-scenes news. It's not official yet. Both Derek and I received a phone call from Senator Warren's office that my department was lucky enough to receive an Assistance to Firefighters Grant Award. The award will be over $94,000. The award will pay for the 2 cardiac monitors that we've been desperately seeking for the last few years, and then also a driver-operator pump training program to better improve our staff at pump operations and driver-operator safety and all those things that go along with that. So it's not official yet because I don't and have not received an email from the program, but I got a call and I went directly to from Senator Warren's office congratulating us. So I don't like to say we got it until I get the official email from the grant award program, but if Senator Warren's calling or her office is calling, I gotta believe there's some validity to us getting the grant. So you'll see that coming across your desk hopefully in the next couple of weeks that we need to get approval for that too. And that's only a 5% match. So for the cardiac monitors, the town share will only be about $3,700. We're gonna get over $74,000 worth of equipment for $3,700, and the training grant is just over $20,000, so it'll cost us about $1,000. So that's not a bad deal.
Not a bad
That's
thing.
Fantastic news.
Yeah.
Really good.
So, yeah, and again, this is something that the staff worked on last year and they were not successful, so we took a look at it again, revamped some things to get some better language for the cardiac monitors, and then I put in for the driver operator training program, so very exciting. So,
Congratulations, that's huge.
thank you.
Yeah.
Really, very good.
So you should see that coming along.
So if I could just, Chief and I have talked about this, and this is just great work by the department, but this, by their effort, this does so much more than just purchase cardiac monitors. So you'll see, I'll talk a little bit about the warrant later on this evening, but we have to replace these cardiac monitors, and we've known this for about a year now. And so Chief and I worked with Rep. Moran and Senator Moore to request an earmark, in which we were lucky to get a $25,000 earmark from the state for cardiac monitors. And then we were going to subsidize that earmark with an article at town meeting to purchase the cardiac monitors for $75,000. But now that the federal government's going to pay for this not only frees up $50,000 from free cash, but it also frees up the $25,000 earmark, which is going to allow us to go ahead and work with Chief Bradley and Chief DeFranco to purchase active shooter kits. So when our first responders were to enter an environment where there's an active shooter, they will have the proper protection. So this grant had a major ripple effect throughout the public safety department. So I think, kudos to Chief DeFranco and his team, but it's really a testament to all the work that all departments are doing to try to find every dollar of grant opportunity that's out there.
Right. And it was about 6 months ago that you applied for the regional grant for the radios as well.
Yeah, these were all done at the same time. When I had Warren's office on the phone, I did say, hey, I still have one more grant out there, we're working with Mendon, so it's a regional approach. And he said, well, there's at least 2 more grant rounds to come out. They usually come out on Fridays. They've already done at least 3, this will be the 4th one, so there's at least 2 more, if not maybe 1 more after that. So we have not been told no yet, but so we're still hopeful that we get that last one, so.
That's great.
So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, great work, thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Agenda item 5.5, consider a street sign request. A resident had put forward a street sign request, took a ride by there today. It's at the corner of Elm Street and Christian Hill Road. It's actually on Elm Street, I believe, is where he's requesting a stop sign. Right now, that intersection has 2 stops on it, so it looks like he's requesting a stop from Elm Street, just say from the Kiwanis Beach side, heading down towards 140. Dennis Westgate, our DPW director, reviewed the request, as did Chief Michael Bradley. He reviewed it as well. It is not recommended by either one of those public safety officials. So, is there any discussion or debate?
I think we should make it clear that one of the key issues of this exchange is the sight lines. And so there's been a recommendation by the DPW as well as the Chief of Police to go in, and the DPW will do this and improve that sight line. So there's some brush there. They'll cut back that brush, improve the line of sight, and they're confident that that will address the concerns that the citizen has. So there will be action taken on this. It's just that at this time, we're not recommending to put up a stop sign.
All right. So no action by the board will be taken. Okay. Derek, how about town manager's report?
Sure, just a few items. The first item I just want to bring to your attention is, yesterday evening, we were able to release the draft special town meeting warrant. So this will be posted online, so those folks who haven't received a copy yet can go online and they can go ahead and see the draft warrant. I just briefly mentioned, how we're already able to withdraw $50,000 in one of the articles based upon Chief DeCroix's strong work. So at our next meeting, October 1st, you all will review the warrant and we will have those boards and committees and others present their case as to why they believe their article should move forward to the November 5th town meeting.
Great.
And so, talked about the grant already. I hope many of you have noticed that Hartford Ave South is under major construction. Again, a lot of credit goes to Dennis Westgate, who was able to negotiate an agreement with Pulte. So the town's going to fund half of that reconstruction. That's going to be a full depth reclamation. Originally, a couple of years ago, they had worked on an agreement with Pulte just to do a mill and overlay. And after Dennis and John Johnson, our superintendent, went out there, they realized that there wasn't much to mill or overlay. So we will pay for full depth on our side, and Dennis has been able to convince Pulte to also cover the upper portion of Hartford South for full depth. So full depth is going to last at least 10 plus years as far as roadway improvements in that area. So again, there's a lot of work. If you go there now, you can see how they've torn up the entire road at this point. We're also going to repair that sidewalk as well. So if you take a ride up there, you see the sidewalk is in very poor condition. So new sidewalk, new road, new drainage. There's some drainage problems we have over there as well. Pulte's agreed to provide the labor at no cost as long as we provide the material. So that while they rip up their side of the road, they're going to install new drainage as well. So a lot of work happening up there. We are also finalizing the Russell Ave layout. So if you go to Russell Ave, you look at Russell Ave, you don't know where the road begins or it ends, where the sidewalks begin or end. So to Dennis's credit, he's actually ordered for that to be laid out so that when we go ahead and do the mill and overlay, we know exactly where the streets are going to be. And we're going to be doing that for a lot of the roads. You look over here at North Main Street, where it abuts some of the properties, and I don't even know the sidewalk needs around, Church Street to a certain degree. So as we go through some of these streets, we're going to have them surveyed so that we can get better curb lines on these roads. And that'll certainly help with drainage. I had a conversation yesterday with Andrew St. George, our recreation director, and he is taking, I mentioned this at our last meeting, but he's going to take the lead and work with Janice Nowicki, our COA director, who's also an ADA coordinator, and both of them are going to apply to the Mass Office of Disability to try to find funding to pay for the construction of a new ramp that's going to be in the lower parking lot over at Kiwanis Beach. So we're projecting it's going to cost approximately $15,000 for that construction project. But again, trying to find all the money that's available to do some of this work. So, we'll hear more about that. That's due in early October. As I mentioned before, the Disability Commission is also working on a grant to get money in town so we can finish the transition plan that was started a couple of years ago by Recreation Commission. And then, as far as grants go, our conservation agent, David Pickard, is going to be meeting with the Conservation Commission to work with CMRPC on an MVP grant. An MVP grant is a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant program that provides funding. In this case, we're going to focus more on kind of stormwater management and potential mitigation of any flood hazards in town. So that could be anything from providing construction improvements around some of our dams, or some of the other areas like our homes. So again, trying to find money to improve our infrastructure. So David, we work with Conservation Commission on that. And then last week, I talked about 6 months ago about DLS having made a commitment to the town to meet with our financial team around conducting a full financial analysis, looking at our revenue projections over the next 5 years, looking at our expenditure projections and our capital needs over the next 5 years. So they had made a commitment to the town for September 1st to do that work, and then unfortunately, they have not been able to deliver on that. I had a conversation with the director on Friday, and what they will do for us is they're asking for all our information now, and they're going to start to input that data into their spreadsheets over the next 2 weeks, and then they're hoping to have a meeting in the middle of October, so on October 15th, where they can present verbally some of their findings with the goal of having a final written report in sometime December, early January. And the reason why they can't do that all up front is because they've lost a lot of staff. So they're figuring they can at least do the operational piece for us, so we have a better sense of, again, what our revenues and projections will be for the next 5 years as we head into the November town meeting. I did say to them that was really important to us. We have some major capital items that need to be discussed over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and this would help us kind of make an informed decision as we move to the town meeting. So they made that commitment, so hopefully we'll have a better sense as to the final product in October.
Very good. Any questions?
No, I would just say a couple of things. One is all the work, and I think people should be aware of this in the community, there's a tremendous amount of work going on within the local government. Under Eric's leadership and the chief's leadership and other folks in the community, Janice and Andrew, to look for grant money and get support from outside of the tax base here in Upton, to get support for projects and making investments in the roads and working these private agreements with people, developers like Pulte. It's really great work, and it all comes off the back of the taxpayer, so any little bit we can do to help ease the burden on taxpayers is something that we're going to focus on. So thanks for all that work and effort.
Very good. Maureen, do you have? Okay.
Thanks.
Recognition. Does anybody have anything under recognition?
Not other than what we just did.
I was thinking, board sends its condolences to Frank Aniello. I actually served with him on the capital budget committee for about 2 years. Heck of a nice guy, sharp, donated his time to the town, and passed away about a week and a half ago at a young age of 58 years old. So he will be missed around town. I think he was a men's club member, very active member of the men's club, and again, I served with him on capital budget. So that's very sad. Condolences to his family. All right. Anything for new business?
Not here.
Look ahead topics. Okay. Do we have any public comment? Anybody have any public comment? Good.
Michelle Antonelli, 141 South Street. You might notice my lovely eye. I had surgery last Thursday, and my eye is actually functioning very well right now, but I had some revelatory experiences over the past couple of days that I kind of feel is integral to my work here in Upton as a private citizen and advocate. So over the past couple of days, I've had some limited vision, I've had some double vision, I've had some balance issues, and it really made me think, what if I was trying to access this community with this kind of situation all of the time? And I thought how this would really impact my life as a resident of Upton. And I have to say I'm brokenhearted. At best, the infrastructure of Upton offers a half-hearted minimal access to town government, to leisure and recreation activities, to library services for people with impairments, physical and sensory challenges. I'm going to speak to you specifically about 2 issues. One is the new town hall parking lot that's proposed. We're going to have more spots, but fewer dedicated accessible parking spots. We currently have 14 spots, with 2 that are marked accessible. The new lot will have 21 spots and only 1 accessible spot. Now this meets the letter of the law, there's no doubt about that. The ratio is 1 to 25. But how is this the right thing to do? to increase general parking by 7 spots at the cost of an accessible parking spot. How does this support public access if we have an employee of the town coming to work in the town hall that needs that accessible spot? It doesn't. 2 weeks ago, we were before this board, Lynn and Haggerty and I, talking about a potential ramp for the library. We talked about 2 options for entrance into the library. We weren't talking about renovating the whole library. As John Robertson was explaining, to renovate the whole library for full accessibility would be in the neighborhood of about $250,000, and that's an older figure, so I imagine it's more than that. We were talking about just getting inside and being able to speak to the librarian, listen to the children's hour stories if you happen to be in that age and wanted to enjoy that. Maybe use the computers that are available in the library. I wasn't talking, and we weren't talking about using the bathroom. We weren't talking about even perhaps spending time in the gathering room if that was presenting a challenge. We were talking about just getting in. So the BOS 2 weeks ago discussed possible engineering studies, but neither the BOS nor the library trustees posted warrant articles for these studies. At that meeting 2 weeks ago, we discussed the use of a grant to cover ramp plans and construction, and the town manager described that the Recreation Commission was already applying for that same grant to cover a mandated ramp that we have to get in place at Kiwanis. Yet, at the Disability Commission meeting, the Recreation Director stated that they had about $15,000 to cover the walkway if they were denied the grant. So why are we doing this? Why are we requesting funds for needs that we already have funding for and neglecting maximizing access for our community of people that have physical impairments? Is this the right thing to do? I don't think anyone needs to answer that question. We know better. Foremost in people's minds as we talk about library access is the possibility of a new library with full access. It's a wonderful dream. It may even come true. But this isn't an either-or proposition. We can't hold people with impairments hostage for a new building that at its earliest possible opening is 3 to 4 years away. People have died and never been into our library. It's time for the leadership, that's you guys, to prioritize the needs of people in this town. Let's get rid of the word disability. When the environment is set up to maximize universal access using universal design principles, we don't have a community of people with disabilities spending time with people who have none. We have one community of able people. I'm asking the BOS to commit to a mission of meeting the needs of all of our citizens and making access and inclusion a priority for Upton. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the message. I thought that we were actively the last meeting that we had. I think we had discussed that we were going to try to apply for a grant to do the engineering side of the equation to try to figure out if we could get the Christine building accessible for entrance. But that'll
I think
be
there is a grant process for that, an application, but not for a grant, right?
The grant the Disability Commission is applying for is a transition grant, and that grant would look at the Milton Steam building, and it would make recommendations as to where we are deficient in the costs that will be associated with making those deficiencies fully applied, along with any other municipal inserts.
Okay.
I think we're in the process.
Right, the discussion basically was talking about which way into the building would make more sense. There was just an original idea to go in through a doorway, where now there's a discussion to go in through a window, where a window now is. So that's kind of the tricky part, and at the same time, trying to balance the need of a new structure. So these are all the things we're trying to balance all at once. Is there any other public comment? Would you like to comment?
Lynn Haggerty, 10 Selectmen. The other part of the grant process of one grant, as the town manager spoke about, is the grant for the transition plan. The second grant is a larger grant. So that's a smaller grant that gives us the inventory of the town and what needs to be met. The next grant is a larger grant that you can implement. Some of those you can implement, prioritize what the needs are. So there's 2 phases in the grant process. town of Grafton just recently received both those grants, so they can execute. So I just wanted to mention that. And I was also curious with the Historical Commission's presentation and to maybe utilize the Ramsey Building, maybe the Historical Society comes downstairs. I don't know what the square footage is downstairs. They're using 1710, and it's an option, and that would be a more, once made accessible, say a ramp and configuration, not all at once, that's more access to the Historical Society. And when I came, the last Board of Selectmen's meeting, that's pretty much what I was trying to say, that we can make it, more accessible, more usable forever.
You used to say the Ramsey Building or townwide?
Well, if we were to get those 2 grants, we could work on that process. But as we prioritize things, just like the transition plan for once, the transition plan that the Center for Living and Working comes up with, it actually has a priority of when you can achieve it, who you can utilize to work on it. It's great. It shows you what needs to be prioritized in that fashion. And I must say, I've been pushing at them. They need to stay on their priorities instead of going off the reservation. So I'm just saying that this, I just want to consider the possibility that, we could prioritize things, and it's been a long time. It's 29 years since the ADA Act. You haven't get in the library. Somebody, any kind of disability. So that's all thank you.
Just quickly, out of curiosity, what were the 2 grants Grafton got from a dollars and cents standpoint?
I think there were 40,000, were they 40,000 and 40,000, I want to say don't quote me. It was 40,000 on one grant and 250,000 on the other, I believe.
250.
Yeah, 250. So, I'm not saying it's a lot, but it's a start towards it, and you know what I mean? It's a start. We need to start. We need to, and I know we're all trying. We're going to put a priority on it. That's all. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I do have one more comment. I just want to make, Michelle Anthony, 148 Celtic. I just want to make something clear. I don't understand for one moment why when the Recreation Commission has the $15,000 to cover their walkway, they're applying for a grant, and the Library Commission is not applying for that same $15,000 to cover a ramp that they do not have funds for. That's part of what I think maybe got lost because I was speaking so quickly. We can be applying for these grants, we should be applying for these grants, but when we have the money for one and we don't have the money for the other, why are we putting all of our money in one bucket and taking care of one when we can be taking care of 2 different needs here in town? It's heartbreaking, it's wrong, and I think you guys know it. Thank you.
It's a good point. I think the other grant was already in process, but I really don't know that for sure. So I'm not sure if the ramp at the Ramsey Building was identified as an issue before we had decided to do something here.
It was identified in July.
July, okay. All right.
The grant closes October 8th, it's not too late.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.